Brandy and I have just finished watching. We finished watching Resurrection, so we are finally done with the original series. And then now we just finished watching the remake, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and it was another one I was very curious to find out how Brandy felt about it because she's not big on remakes. I'm not either, especially if it's a movie that I love.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird with Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. There's like so much garbage that I just fucking despise, and then maybe there's a few things here and there that I'm like, oh, that I actually really like certain things, like the acting in this movie, certain castings.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I was trying to think of like, I was gonna say like maybe some subtle moments, but this movie's not subtle. So
Yeah.
yeah, acting, casting, some things with character I actually do kind of like. But I guess we should start at the beginning of the film
Yeah.
if we're gonna be. Well, we can sort of go through it. I am not a fan whatsoever of number one humanizing Michael to that point where we spend the
Mm-hmm.
first hour or so him as a kid and like
Yeah.
it's the most cliche bullshit in the world. He was bullied. He had a his home life is shitty. He
Yeah.
kills animals. It was the most cliche. Oh, I'm gonna grow up and be a horror. I almost said horror movie character. I'm gonna grow up and be a serial killer.
Yeah.
Bullshit that it's just so obvious and cliche, and I hate that he did that. And I said to you when we were watching it, honestly, because it's more supernatural and more like pure evil kind of thing, I'd take Curse of Thorn any day as far as an explanation. And he doesn't need
Yeah.
an explanation, but if we had to have one, I'd take the Curse of Thorn any day, even though it's complicated and kind of stupid. But how did you feel about them humanizing Michael and that the whole
Yeah.
beginning of him as a kid, like and all that?
Well, I know that we talked about it while we were watching the movie. I totally agree with you 100%. And about first of all, humanizing Michael is not necessary anyway. And I think I even agree that yeah, I do think I would take the whole cult, curse thing
Curse of
from
Thorn.
yeah, even though I absolutely hated that too, I think I would take that because at
Right?
least
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is like supernatural and it is more like okay, he's just pure evil or whatever. He doesn't have to have. I mean,
yeah,
in the original, he just stabs his sister. He goes outside. His parents get there. His parents look like normal, hardworking, regular people. They don't have to be like his mom's like a stripper in this, and his stepdad's like a
yeah,
bully and really aggressive for like no reason. And it's just like not necessary, and it is cliche. It's like, and I feel like he took a lot of inspiration from like maybe actual serial killers in real life because I don't know how much anybody out there or even you, Dylan, know about Jeffrey Dahmer. I know I talked about this when we were watching the movie though, but like Jeffrey
uh-huh.
Dahmer apparently, like I'm interested in that type of shit, so I watch documentaries all the time. I just think it's scary and interesting. And so like I feel like he definitely like took
Yeah,
inspiration from actual things like that because Jeffrey Dahmer killed animals as a kid and he had kind of a bad home life where his parents fought a lot and you know they try to like say that that's what happened. So like I don't know. I just think Michael Myers isn't like just I don't know. He's not a fucking Jeffrey Dahmer. He's not like a Ted Bundy. He's his own like, and he's always had this supernatural thing around him even since the first movie. I mean, Loomis shoots him like 6 times, whatever, at the end of the first movie, and
yeah,
and then he's just gone. So it's like
sure.
there's always been something there where it's like he's not human. So trying to humanize him is just like,
Right.
ugh. And I'm sorry, but they
And
picked like
I
the
know, and I
worst
think
actor for him as the kid. That sounds
for
bad,
it,
but
I I know it does. You know what? But I don't care. That's how I've always felt with this movie. It's
yeah,
like maybe I could feel a little more connected. It's again, it's completely unnecessary, but maybe I would have felt a little more connected and felt for the kid a little more. But it's just
yeah,
the kid they chose. I don't know. And then I think in the remake portion, like the last hour,
hmm,
you sort of bought it a little more. This is Michael. I mean, he's giant and he shouldn't be, but you sort of
yeah,
bought it. And then when he pulled out the picture with the little boy, you were like, okay, that's not Michael. Like,
yeah,
I also can't connect the two. It's just
yeah. And I
while
mean, I don't
while
want to,
adult Michael is giant, you
yeah.
know, in perspective, in the mask, him walking and things like that in the background, you still kind of get the essence.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like mean, but I just want to be completely honest on how I feel about like every aspect of all these movies. So to be 100%
Yeah,
real, and I don't hope I don't offend anybody that maybe, likes this movie or likes how Michael was portrayed, but honestly, the kid looked a little
Right.
like feminine too for me. Like he looked more, innocent, and there was just like a quality of just like they could have gotten, I guess, somebody that looked more like somebody that looked more believable that
Right.
they would
I
grow
don't.
up and be like that. I don't know. It was just like the kid
Right.
looked way too
I
innocent.
don't
He had like this baby
remember.
face, and it was weird.
Yeah. I don't remember what character described him as that. Maybe it was Loomis, but somebody described him as like angelic or something. I remember somebody
Oh
said
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it's just like, really? That's how you're gonna? That's not. I mean, and I
yeah.
guess that was supposed to be Rob Zombie's point. Like he's like looks like a sweet little kid or whatever, and then
Yeah.
look what happens. But
But it's almost like it was
it just
too
doesn't work.
emphasized. Like, yeah, if that was his point, like, oh, he's
Yeah.
so sweet, and then he grows up and he's like this killer, like, that's fine. Because even the kid in the original that plays Michael in the very beginning, when they take his mask off, he definitely looks like an innocent little kid. But I just
Yeah.
feel like this particular actor, it's almost like they went overboard with emphasizing that, like, look how sweet looking he is. And he does look like really feminine, and it just doesn't work with like I think the way Michael's supposed to be. So I don't know. That kind of bothered me too.
And you
Even
know
though
what
everything
doesn't
else was
help
well
with that?
cast, but we'll get to that obviously. Everything
Yeah.
else I feel like was well
Yeah.
cast except for Michael as a kid.
hmm Yeah. But you know what else would help with that? If not every single character, male character in the movie, pretty much, including young Michael, had long ass hair like Rob
Oh my
Zombie, because
god.
that's what he wanted apparently. Maybe if the
Yeah.
kid had shorter hair, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't come
Yeah.
off like that. His features wouldn't make him appear feminine. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
But
agree.
I've
I
felt
think
like
that
that
was
since I
weird.
saw that.
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't like.
everybody had
I
like
don't
long
like.
hair. It was weird.
Yeah. I don't like having young Michael, period, like humanizing, trying to empathize with him. And
Right.
then on top of it, the casting just didn't help at all. So in
Oh
my
yeah.
mind, it just didn't work at all.
I agree.
The whole prequel stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and they always have to go more overboard with everything in remakes. I know you and I have talked about it a million times, but just, it's worth mentioning for the discussion that I think they always have to over dramatize everything in a remake. Like, if anybody's familiar with the original Evil Dead, just see the fucking remake, and it's just so over the top, and there's just so much more drama within the characters than there needs to be. Like, I don't, and then even, Amityville Horror is the same way. I hate the remake of that. There's just always something more that has to be emphasized within the characters than there. I mean, I don't know. And I feel like this definitely plays into that too, that cliche remake thing where it's like we gotta have more drama, we gotta make it more interesting. And it's like the original was interesting enough, and the mystery of Michael was the cool thing about the original. Like we didn't really know
I
why
know,
what
yeah.
his motives were, why did he stab his sister, why, we didn't know any of that, and it was kind of cool. It was like the mystery. Like there's no mystery in movies anymore. It's always got to be so in your face, and we got to explain everything, and it's got to be this dramatic big story. His mom's a stripper, and it's just like it's not necessary. It's just very unnecessary.
Exactly, no, I agree. Um, I will say though, like I said, I mean, I empathized a little more with like his mom because that actress
Yeah,
was a good actress, and like,
she was
you
good.
felt
Yeah,
bad for her, and that's
yeah,
fine. But you're not supposed to feel bad for Michael. And then like her eventually ending up killing herself was kind of fucked up and a
yeah.
little tragic and whatever. Um, One thing I will say I liked as far as the prequel side is because it's such common knowledge now that within the franchise, I mean not including the new one, but that
Right.
Laurie and Michael are siblings. I like
Oh yeah,
that because it wasn't a thing in the original movie, but it became in Halloween 2, and then it became such a just common knowledge in the series. I do like that this movie decided to, okay, let's acknowledge that because it is such just a thing.
yeah.
So I liked that they had like Lori, the baby, in the
Oh
beginning
yeah,
with the family, and it's like I think at first you said, "Who's that?" I don't know. Michael had a brother or
yeah,
something, and I said,
yeah. I
"Oh
thought it was
no,
a
remember
boy.
that? Remember how? Yeah, that's Lori." Yeah, yeah. But I like that them including that just in the beginning,
Yeah. No, that is cool. Like certain things were okay. Actually, I was surprised that certain things were they did
right?
kind of work in this remake, and then but then like the stuff that was really bad that I kind of expected sort of outweighs that, which I know sounds bad, but it's the truth. Like there was some good moment. Like there was a couple subtle moments. Remember when I said, "Oh, that's cool that you can see Michael in the background of certain shots still." Like Rob Zombie
Yeah,
did keep some of that,
yeah,
but obviously the tone was still so over the top that like those scenes kind of got blotted out, you know, eventually, like, they're barely memorable because everything else was so over the top in it. So I don't know. But he did try to keep that, I think, at
Hmm.
least in the beginning. So, like, when he's following Lori and
Yeah.
when she looks out the window, like how she does in the original, she looks out the window and she sees him kind of standing there. That was kind of cool
Yeah.
that they kept that. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. And what were your thoughts on Loomis? Because I know you were very apprehensive before we
Oh,
started
yeah.
because we both love Donald Pleasance so much. I remember I told you that the new Loomis, Malcolm McDowell, I think he did a pretty decent job for his
Yeah.
own version. So what did you think?
Um, Yeah, I was really nervous about that because obviously, and people are probably going to be so annoyed that are listening to this because I say it in every single part, but I fucking love Donald Pleasance. I can't emphasize it any more than that. He's amazing. He was Loomis. Like, that
I
character
know.
belongs to Donald Pleasance
Well, we're
completely.
not going to forget
So,
him as we talk about these, like some of the movies forgot his importance.
oh yeah, definitely. That's why I feel like we're going to bring him up no matter, if we're talking about this, the remakes or whatever, even if we're talking about movies that he's not in, he's always going to be mentioned. His name is always going to come out of my mouth if we're talking about Halloween. So people get annoyed, whatever. Go watch the movies. You'll see why he's such a big deal. But anyway, but that being said, I will say that Malcolm McDowell actually did a decent job. Like, does he compare to Donald Pleasance? No, but was it something like it wasn't like, oh god, this is so awful and unwatchable and I can't, like, it wasn't like that. He definitely like did his own thing
Yeah.
with it, and I actually thought it was okay. And I thought they were going to change Loomis, like, from, I told you this before, I thought it was going to be like, let's make him a little younger so he can, like, I'm glad they kept him around like the same age he's supposed to be, like he's older,
Yes.
and they picked an
Like I
older
told
actor.
you,
So
the remake of Fright Night did just that. And you've never seen Fright Night, but I'm sure it'll be one we watch eventually. But the remake of
yeah.
Fright Night did that. They had an older character in the original, and then in the remake they made him like 30 years old, and it was
Oh
horrible.
my god, yeah, I really seriously kind of expected that with Loomis, but I am kind of glad that they did keep him, you know, older, and they got a good actor. Like, Malcolm McDowell's a really good actor. He's known for being a good actor. I like him. I like some of his
Yeah.
movies and
Hmm.
stuff. So I kind of figured going into it, I'm like, okay, he'll probably do a decent job. I just hope he doesn't try too hard to be Donald Pleasance, and he didn't. I didn't get that vibe at all that he was trying to, like, he kind of did his own thing, and it was fine. So I will say I was nervous, but it actually turned out to be an okay thing. I won't say it was 100% good because I still don't like anybody
Yeah.
stepping into that role. It's weird, but but yeah, it was okay.
No, but yeah, I agree. He did like I said, he did a good job for his own version. Still incomparable to Donald Pleasance, of course. But
Yeah.
I guess going on to some of, and like we said, some of the other casting was actually good. I am, like I've said, Rob Zombie does respect a lot of and really like a lot of classic horror actors and things like that.
Yes.
So there was a lot of castings in this that were like that. I know you really enjoyed seeing, and I knew she was in it, and before we watched this, because as much as you talk about Cujo as a
Oh
movie that
yeah.
we should watch, I knew you'd like Dee Wallace coming up.
Oh my God, yes.
So, um, how'd you think about her just surprising you as being in it? And then, like, I mean, personally, I liked her in this movie because Laurie's parents were like the only normal, like they weren't like Rob
Yeah.
Zombie
Over the
characters
top.
for the most part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, no, oh my God, I fucking love Dee Wallace. Like, I think she's one of the best, like, scream queens. I think we were talking about this. Like, she is so good. Actually, speaking of her, I just have to I have to say this, that I don't know if people know this, but Stephen King himself has, like, literally said that she is his favorite actress from any of his movies. He says that she does the best portrayal of one of his characters, and he said he was, like, blown away by how she played it. And when you and I watch Cujo, I will talk about it even more, Dylan. She is fucking amazing. And I said this while we were watching it, but she has this, and if the more movies you watch with her in it, I've seen so many different movies with her in it, but obviously Cujo's like a big one. She's in E.T. as well. I love that movie. She's in,
Yeah.
like, and she's always like the mom character, but she does it so well, and she has this, like, ability to just a really good sense of, like, realism and authenticity about the way she acts. Like, she really seems like
I know there
a mom, and it's, like, crazy that
there
she
was
does
one.
that so well.
I know there was one moment I wanted to point out because she was great in her small role she had, but like
Yeah.
I love, and I think you really liked the moment where it was after Annie picked up Lori and her husband were sitting on the doors on the steps, and he said, how about some lovin' or whatever, and she
Oh yeah.
stood up and said, "Oh yeah, let's talk about the vacation first, and then we'll
Yeah.
talk about."
Yeah, then you'll get yeah, and like it was just like the way she delivers lines, it makes it seem like wow, she really has been married to this guy forever. Wow, Lori really is her daughter. Like she makes you believe that. And like I said, actors all the time, that's their job is to do that. And there's a lot of good actors in the world, but like I just feel like she in particular has this way of just making it so authentic. And I feel like that's why Stephen King
Yeah,
really
and
likes
not
her.
everyone can do that.
Yeah,
Not everyone
exactly.
can do that, especially in like a small role like she had, to make it
Exactly.
believable.
Exactly. She's really awesome. So I was so happy when she came on screen. I was like, "Yay!" I was like, "I don't care how small her role is. I fucking love her. That's awesome." So, and I do appreciate that Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that Rob Zombie appreciates like obviously classic horror movies and actors. So that's awesome.
hmm And I guess jumping off that to go on to another classic horror movie actor and one who at one point was very important to the series, and then the studio did not see her importance anymore.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I love that Rob Zombie again. I think originally he said no, I don't want anybody from the older Halloweens in this, and then she sort of proved herself, and he was like, oh yeah, no, you actually are kind of
Yeah.
important, especially how you were fucked over before. But
Yeah.
I personally love. It's probably my favorite part of the movie, and I kind of this thought just popped in my head. But anyways, I'm talking about Danielle Harris as
Yeah.
Annie in this movie after she was so. Her and Donald Pleasance really made Halloween 4 and 5 what they were so
Oh,
special,
definitely. Yes. I
and she
agree.
really, especially Halloween 5, she just held that movie up,
Yeah.
despite some of its problems. But that just popped into my head. I was like, seeing her in this, you know, in this kind of a lot of it's not great, but seeing
Yeah.
her return and in this kind of gives me similar feelings to, and we always do this, bringing it back to Resident Evil, gives me a
Oh yeah.
similar feeling with Sally Cahill as Ada, dubbing her in Retribution. Like hearing every time she's on screen or every time she speaks, it's just like, oh, I love that so much. I think it's the
Yeah.
same thing here to see Danielle back in the franchise and respected and like, yeah, of
Yeah.
course you're important. Let's bring you back a different character. I just love that. And I think she actually did a pretty good job with her version of Annie. There was nothing that really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, you know, we can talk about Linda later,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, how did you feel about her returning to this series in this way, especially since you have just recently seen how she was treated a few movies
Oh
ago?
yeah. Yeah, no, I really think that was an awesome choice, and it's really cool that they gave her an iconic character from the first one, and she's an iconic actress, and she also has an iconic character, so it's kind of like going full circle. And it's a
hmm
good comparison to say
Yeah.
Sally Cahill in Retribution. That's a really good comparison because it's like yeah, it's like wow, that's really cool that they respected her enough. They gave her a role. It was a role that I was like
hmm
not too sure of because I'm like oh Annie's supposed to be like annoying and kind of slutty, and like I
Right.
see when I see Danielle Harris, I see her little girl self, and I see Jamie, and it's like no.
I know.
But so I did say seeing
I
her boobs a couple
know.
times was a little bit
Yeah.
weird, but but
Yeah,
other
I
than
said,
that, like
yeah,
she's
that's a little weird.
yeah,
And then there was one moment you said when she was on the ground and she was bloody and like
yeah,
you could see her face and you were like, wow, she looks like her her little girl face in that shot and things like that when
yeah, because she was like
you see her like
crying and it
that.
reminded
And then
me
yeah,
of
you were like,
yeah,
yeah. But then seeing her
yeah.
boobs right below is a little, I mean, fine, good for her that she,
I mean, yeah.
willing to do that, but it is a little like,
It's just kind
Jamie,
of weird
no, I
for
don't
when
want to
you
see
yeah,
Jamie.
when you grow up with the kid. It's sort of like again, we always go back to Resident Evil, but like Sherry, for example, like Sherry was so sweet and innocent in
Right.
RE2, and then when you get to RE6 and there's like that shot of her boobs and like Jake kind of looks at him, and it's like no, and then they give her like a slutty what's it called alternate costume, and it's like no, we don't really want to see Sherry all slutted up like we're used to her being. So it's I kind of felt the
Right.
same way with Danielle Harris. It's like I'll probably always see her as because I mean these are the only movies I've ever seen her in anyway, so I'll probably always see her as her little kid
Uh-huh.
self, but obviously she's attractive. She's a woman. If she wants to do that, that's totally fine. It's just for me
Uh-huh.
personally. I was like, no, you're a little girl still. But she did. Other than that, she did like so good in the role. And I even said like when she screamed, I'm like, oh, she still got it. Like, she's definitely like she has like a really strong scream, and she's had it since she was a kid, and she still has it. And that was awesome. And yeah, I think her being part of it it did actually give it a little bit of like even like nostalgia, which is cool. So in an otherwise, movie
Yeah, I
that seems
just
so far from all the other ones, so that's kind of cool.
right. I know. It's I, kind of the feeling was it's not Halloween unless you have a certain actors or
Oh yeah,
actor,
definitely,
and
yeah.
like Jamie Lee Curtis barely in that, so most of Resurrection was just new people and new shit.
Yeah.
But I just thought about that, like, yeah, and then, you know, Jamie Lee was gone after Resurrection, and then, oh, and Danielle Harris comes back, albeit in a different role. But it's just like it adds a little credibility, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because, again, her Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasence, they are the most important actors, so you need one of them, and usually we always get one of them, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I mean, this one actually may feel more like the originals or, the good ones at least because of having Danielle Harris more so than even Resurrection because Resurrection had Jamie Lee Curtis, which was awesome, but she was literally killed off within the first like 10 minutes. So it's like and then the rest of it was
Exactly,
just
yeah.
these new terribly written cheesy characters like that nobody cares about. So yeah, so I think having her in this one did actually make it better, even, for me, and I don't like remakes, but I think it did help. So,
Uh-huh.
and it was cool seeing her. And when she did start
Yeah.
screaming and crying and freaking out, I did kind of see like her little girl in her, like you could just see Jamie, and it's like, no, I want you to come back as Jamie. But yeah, so that was awesome.
I know. But so, yeah, it was nice that she get to come back in this way. I suppose it's another big character. I don't know if we really talked about it too much while we were watching, but like, how did you feel about the new Lori? Because she had pretty
Uh,
big shoes to fill.
well, you actually forgot one of the other ones I thought you were going to talk about. There was Dee Wallace, there was Danielle Harris, and there's one
Lynn,
more. No, there's one more like awesome like, Rob Zombie paying tribute to horror movies actor. Come on, Dylan. If I think about it, he's got a small role, so that's probably why it. But once you think about it, you're gonna be like, oh shit.
oh, you're gonna have to tell me, and then I'm gonna feel
Sheriff
stupid.
Brackett in this one
Oh,
is played by.
fuck you, Brad Dourif. Yeah.
Come on, you're usually better at this than me too, so I'm sorry.
But no, no. Talking about him for a minute, I think that was great. I mean, that was another sort
Yeah.
of horror iconic casting. And I didn't mention it when we were watching the movie, but I loved it was kind of like that's the perfect person to be Danielle Harris's father. Like these two icons, these two legends are sort of
Yes.
paired up in a sense as father and daughter. I really like that.
Yeah, it's like
Chucky
Chucky
and
all
Jamie.
along was Jamie's dad. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love it. And it's so funny because like everybody mainly knows Brad Dourif obviously from being the voice of Chucky, and you do see him obviously in the
Mhm.
beginning of Child's Play when Chucky, the actual guy, actually like gets shot and everything. But like I never realized this is gonna sound really weird, but I never realized how adorable Brad Dourif is. Like, and it's so weird to say that Chucky is adorable, but I guess in a weird way he kind of is. And it's weird because he doesn't sound like Chucky in this. He obviously has he changes his voice a little bit, but you can still tell in certain line delivery. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh yeah. So it's really, really cool. I loved that. That was awesome. I definitely just wanted to at least talk about him
I
because
know.
he's
Yeah,
great for a little bit. But
yeah. I feel
but yeah,
stupid
if
for
you
forgetting about it, but
uh, well, you could edit it together, make it sound like you remembered if you want to, but
nah. I'll
no,
own
I'm
my
leaving it. Your
stupidity
mistake.
for a minute.
Well, if you want to talk
But
about
no,
Lori now, we can, because I think that
yeah.
I'm kind of torn with how to feel about her, honestly. So I don't know what your opinion is on her. I think obviously she's never gonna compare to Jamie Lee Curtis. We should just establish that right
No,
now. But she
no,
wasn't
no.
awful, and she was actually a pretty good actress. Like her screams and the freak out scenes and the crying and everything, like she did really, really good with those. But I feel like honestly they focused so much in the beginning on Michael's past that I did kind of feel like the kills and the whole remake aspect of the movie was sort of like rushed. So I don't know if we really got a sense of Laurie like how we did in the
Yeah,
original. That's like where
yeah.
my
They
only
sort of.
issue is.
hmm the remake portion was sort of very much repeating the same beats as the original, just
Yeah.
faster because it isn't the last hour of the film. So yeah,
Yeah.
you don't get a connection to Laurie as much as you do. But for me, I think I, some people really hate her. Some people think she did a good job. I think she did a good job from the acting standpoint, but I
Yeah.
really don't have a strong opinion on one way or the other. I think acting, she was good. She did a good job. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And uh, I can see her being, a decent lead.
Oh yeah.
But Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie is just really special and iconic to like the whole horror genre. So of course it's going to be
Exactly.
hard for her to step into the shoes. But I think she did the best that she could.
Right,
So
with what
it's
she
not
was
like,
given and everything. So
and I
yeah.
like that she was kind of an unknown person. Like
Yeah,
I
it's not
was
like they got
glad that
somebody
they didn't
huge. Yeah.
cast like, yeah, or some like, young 20 something famous like young actor who's popular or whatever. That
Yeah.
would really rub me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I was because she is in so many remakes, I was almost like tempted to sort of fuck with you and say that like, oh yeah, Brandy, Chloe Grace Moretz plays Laurie.
Oh my
Because I know
God.
you don't like her in Carrie. And she does do a
Well,
few other remakes. I was like, yeah, she plays Laurie.
yeah,
That would
you
be
know what's funny?
awful.
She actually
But
does the Amityville remake that I was talking about, so that's interesting. She's like a
oh
little
wow,
girl in that. She's like a kid, but
I didn't
that's
even know that. There
interesting.
was another one that I remember too. So that's yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is so random and going off topic. I do like Chloe Grace Moretz. I just want to say that I think she's a great actress, but she's too pretty to play Carrie, and that's just why I got pissed off at that. But that'll be for another discussion.
Right.
um, and that's the good thing
Exactly.
though. She's
Right.
pretty. I'm not saying she. I mean, but I feel like if you're gonna play Carrie
Hmm.
White, you gotta have some type of realism to you, and she looks kind of Hollywood. And that sounds really bad,
Right.
but that's not her fault. She's just attractive, and I mean, I'd rather
Uh-huh.
be attractive and look Hollywood than not. But anyway, um, but who? Oh yeah, so Laura. Yeah, I feel like, but I also feel
So is
like
Laurie. Yeah.
like again, I feel like it was so rushed. We really didn't get a whole lot of time with Lori as we did in the original, so it wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
She was kind of funny and cute. Like she was cute with her family, and she joked with Tommy, and she seemed like she still seemed like the good babysitter, but she just didn't seem. I don't know. Lori feels so. Again, I'm going back to the word authentic. Like Jamie Lee Curtis plays her in such a way where she's like, she seems so real. I don't know. This one seemed a little
Uh-huh.
forced.
I think that was probably a problem with spending the first half of the movie with Michael as a kid. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, people always say like the remake portion of this movie is very, like I said, it sort of does the beats, doesn't
Yeah.
do anything too new or original. Besides, like I love being able to see the Strodes, and they were great.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but it doesn't. People's biggest problem with the remake portion is like it doesn't do anything really new. It's sort of just like maybe uninspired, and they're just sort of going through the same pace as the original or the same beats,
Yeah.
like I said. And then like the first half, I just don't care for at all. Like all the stuff with the prequel and Michael, it's just like there was no real
Yeah.
reason for that. Honestly, I guess what I'm trying to say is I like the remake portion better.
Then all the new stuff. Yeah.
It's not doing the wrong things. Like it's not explaining Michael like
Yeah.
the first half, which is my problem with this movie. So I mean, I honestly, if I'm ever in the mood to watch this movie, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna 1 hour in.
Yeah, skip it. Yeah, and that's weird because I agree with that, and you know how I feel about remakes, so you would think that I would have absolutely like hated the remake portion, but I
Yeah,
do think because he didn't change too much. Some things he did change, and I do want to talk about that were kind of stupid, like what always having to go more over the top. Like I said, remakes always do that, but like with Judith's like headstone or whatever, like you know how it's just missing in the original, and that's like scary
yeah.
enough because it's just gone and it's kind of eerie and it's like what the fuck. But of course they had to put like a
Mhm.
dead animal or something like gory on the spot
Yeah.
where the grave was or whatever, and it's like why, like that's, I don't know. But other than like little dumb things like that I felt like didn't need to be changed, the remake portion wasn't really terrible, and that's weird for me to say. It was the whole beginning where I was just like,
Yeah.
this is Rob Zombie completely like going overboard and with the material and just doing his own crazy thing. And yeah, and that random scene
I
that
know.
fucking like that of in the like when Michael's still in the fucking asylum or whatever, and that girl just randomly gets raped by the two night guys, and like why it always there always has to be an extreme scene like that in like newer movies to make it like, oh, this is so extreme, man, they actually showed this. Like, no, that's like that just makes people uncomfortable, and it's unnecessary. Like, it
It's
wasn't
stupid.
necessary at all.
It's stupid. I told you
Yeah.
that the theatrical version, that scene is not in there, and it's just a scene of a bunch of guards sort of transporting Michael, and then he just busts away from them and busts out, and that's
Yeah.
simple. I mean, of course, they go over the top with gore and deaths, but like that scene, even there was like maybe 4 or 5 cops, and that scene had a bunch of classic horror actors that you may or may not have recognized. So for them to scrap that in favor of the stupid rape scene is
Yeah, that was
fucking
that.
stupid. I don't.
And it had nothing to do with like they actually, I thought they were gonna drag this poor girl in there, and then Michael was gonna get up and sort of like kill the guys and leave her alone, which he ended up doing. But they actually went forward and just showed the entire rape scene first before they, like, Michael had nothing really to even
Yeah.
do in that scene. He didn't get up and try to get them out like right away. They just like did it, and I was just like, okay. One thing, the only positive thing I'll say about the scene is that, again, I think this definitely is Rob Zombie paying homage to like things that he obviously, like horror movies that are obviously classic and he obviously was fans of, because he totally has Malachi from Children of the Corn. If anybody's seen Children of the Corn, they know who Malachi is. That actor was
Oh
totally in
yeah.
it, and it sucks he was reduced to such a, terrible character in this. But I mean, he's kind of terrible in Children of the Corn as well. But I think that was done on
Mhm.
purpose too. I think like Dee Wallace, obviously Brad Dourif, but I even think little characters like that. I think having him from Children of the Corn, the guy from Children, I don't know what the actual actor's name is, which I wish I did, but I always call him Malachi. But that was kind of cool to see that, even though again he played like a fucking sleazy asshole character. But
Yeah.
that's the only positive. And the guy who played the other night guard, the nice one that was like that Michael ended up drowning, the Hispanic guy. I forget
Oh
what his
yeah.
name is, but he's a good big actor too, and I know him from
Uh,
a couple other things.
yeah. Yeah, I do too.
So so the acting was
Yeah,
good. I
that's
mean, the
kind of fun.
casting was really well done in this, other than like Kid
Mhm.
Michael for whatever reason wasn't. But everybody else,
Yeah.
even like characters that were awful characters, like the stepdad character in Michael's past. He was such a dick, and he was such like wow, you like I can't believe a character like a person like this even exists. You're such an asshole. But he was like the guy that plays him just like really played him really well because he was very believably like a fucking redneck alcoholic piece of shit asshole. So
I know, but of course they opened the movie with those two, him and Michael's mom, and of course they're just screaming and yelling at each other in
yeah.
traditional Rob Zombie writing. Like they're just swearing their head. I
Yeah.
mean, and the things that they, it's just like, wow, that's Rob Zombie. I guess that's, I mean, for me, it just was stupid. It was stupid. Every
Yeah.
time a character was written in a Rob Zombie way, really bothered me.
Yeah, no,
Which
I
is why,
can
like,
yeah.
I liked the Strodes and I liked Annie, was really too much like that, and Lori really not so. Linda, on the other hand, I know
Oh
you were
yeah, we should
nervous
talk
about
about her.
Linda, and then when she started talking and when they came out of the school, you were like, oh yeah, that's right.
Well, I think I said to you, I'm like, oh, I'm so nervous to see Linda because I feel like they're just gonna go so overboard with her and make her talk all vulgar and make her just be this slut. And of course, that's exactly what they did. And Linda is supposed to be that, but I don't know,
Exactly
the
what they
way
did.
TJ
Yeah.
Souls plays her in the original, she's so annoying, but I don't know, I like her. I don't know why. It's the
And
same with
just
Annie in the original. They're both like assholes to Lori, and they're both
yeah,
annoying, but you just like them for whatever reason. But in this one,
for whatever reason, yeah, did see Linda.
in
Yeah,
this
and
one,
this one it's
Linda,
like, and then of
yeah.
course they had to, and then of course they had to then, just like everything else, take it one step further with like her death and her nudity. Of course, in the original, she sort of shows
Oh
her
yeah,
she's topless. In this, she's
yeah,
completely naked while she's getting strangled, which is
yeah.
totally a
I
new
was
thing,
actually
which is not really.
surprised. Yeah, they went like
Yeah,
full frontal and like showed everything on her, which I was actually kind of surprised by because even
right.
in horror movies like that, and nudity is like a big thing in horror movies, especially slasher movies, but even in that genre of movies, it is sort of rare to see like full frontal, but they just went all out in this one. They just didn't care. It was just like, okay, yeah, Rob Zombie was just like, fuck it. But yeah, Linda was, I mean, people could argue that she's like, oh, well, she's supposed to be that type of character, and she's like that in the original, so why do you hate her so much in the remake? But I feel like just, I don't know, PJ Souls has something so likable about her even when she plays an asshole, and because even in Carrie,
Totally.
yeah, exactly. There you go. Need we say more? There we go.
And I
But
gotta bring up, I did it when we were watching the movie, but I just love in the original, there's no ditzy like thing. Like remake Linda seemed like she was really, I don't know, she just seemed like a bitch, and she seemed
yeah, a
like you
bitch.
said, really slutty and just not. Yeah, and I don't know, I just love the original Linda's off-screen fucking monologue about her books, and she says books about 15 million
Oh, and my
times.
Spanish book, my
It's
French
just
book, my
great.
math book. Yeah, she's
My
just like
French book,
name.
and who needs books? I don't
I
need
know.
books.
I know. Yeah. She has a little more definition. I mean,
So I
she
guess that's
obviously
sort of
is
the
supposed to
endearing
be the one-note
part in
slutty
the original. She's
popular
just
character,
ditzy
but
and,
yeah.
yeah,
But the ditzy thing is great, and I feel like that really wasn't. Yeah, she just seemed more like a bitch in this one, like talking about her teacher or whoever was in charge of the cheerleading squad, and just it was just the new movie cliche that the slutty character always has
right,
to be a bitch, and she's always got whatever. And
yeah,
I think that what I actually just realized too, maybe why Lori feels weird to me too in this is that Lori in the original is very like quiet and shy, and she's obviously like the shy one of the group. In this one, they did give her a little more like of a bubbly personality. Like she jokes a lot more with her friends,
uh-huh,
and like but like in the original, she's like very shy and she gets embarrassed easily, like talking about Ben Tramer. She gets really really nervous, and in this one, she was just a little more like outgoing, which
yeah,
isn't a bad thing, but Lori's meant to be like the shy, quiet, easily embarrassed type girl, and her friends are the obnoxious
yeah,
ones that are, yeah.
yeah,
So, but she kind of just was like equal to them in this one. Like Lori was basically she acted just as bubbly and outgoing as Annie and Linda,
yeah,
which is weird because she's not supposed to be that type of way, if that makes sense. I don't know. It might be like a subtle thing to complain about, but again, Lori's defined by being like homey and sweet and shy and quiet, and I feel like she kind of wasn't
exactly,
in this one. She was more
yeah,
she was kind of sort of obnoxious too with her friends. Like they're walking down the sidewalk and they're all kind of being loud and crazy, and like that wasn't a thing in the original. It was like Annie and Linda might have been that way, but Lori is always just like, oh yeah, just kind of tagging along. We're always wondering why she's friends with these people. But
no, no, I agree with that. It's yeah, she wasn't terrible, but it was a weird direction to take Lori.
yeah,
Um, I guess they could have done it worse. I mean, they could have made her
true.
a
That's
terrible,
true.
like, bitchy person like Linda. But yeah, she did sort of lack that sort of shyness and that reservedness and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
made her awesome in the original. And that's sort of what made
but,
Lori stand out amongst her friends because like they were the obnoxious ones and she
huh,
was obviously the different one. But in this one, I feel like they kind of all kind of blended together. Like I feel like the three of them had very similar. Obviously, Linda was still sluttier and meaner or whatever, and than both Annie
yeah,
and Lori. But I don't know, they kind of all seemed like, oh, we're just bubbly teenagers, ha ha ha, whatever. Which again, there's nothing wrong with that, and Lori could have been done way worse. So that's a small thing to sort of complain about, but I like Lori. I like the way Jamie Lee Curtis plays Lori, very like shy and reserved. And you almost feel bad for Lori in the
yes.
beginning of the original Halloween because her friends are so mean, especially Annie's so mean to her in the beginning. And it's like, why do you hang out with these people, Lori? But
I know.
I don't know.
You always said, like, when she's running across the street with her the pumpkin and a million things in her arm running to Annie's
Yeah.
car, and Annie's just like, hurry
Hurry,
up!
I know, and she's all cute, like running to it. And I always felt so bad for her because she looks all adorable, just giant fun. And like Annie doesn't even try to help her; she just bitches that she's taking too long. But I don't know, the original's great.
Oh,
But
yeah, I know. Um, but yeah, unless there's anything else we want to say on this one, I mean, I guess to wrap up, I mean,
um,
like I said, for me, the Rob Zombie Halloween movies are very like I said, there's most of it I just despise, and then there, a few things here and there that I actually think are really good. So
yeah.
it's really confusing. But
No, I feel the same
overall,
way.
I'd
Like
say I don't necessarily care for this remake,
yeah,
but the whole remake portion of it is not the worst. There's been worse remakes as far as that portion,
yes,
but then again, the
definitely.
first hour is just god awful, and I wish it didn't exist. So for me, I think it's a eh.
Yeah,
I mean, I can
yeah,
watch it and enjoy it, and then, but it's completely unnecessary. You know, the original stuff, the prequel stuff kind of pisses me off. But no, what did
Yeah.
you think? Or if you have anything
Um,
like wrapping up?
yeah. Well, well, I do 100% agree with you. You just basically summed up exactly how I feel about it. And I know people are gonna be like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, Brandy, why do you always agree with Dylan? Have your own, because I do feel like you and I are so similar that we do agree on a lot. And I'm not just saying that because, oh, Dylan thinks this. So, obviously I have my own opinions. I have my own, but like, I do 100% agree with you. And I feel like I thought I was really gonna hate the remake portion of it, but again, it wasn't awful. It also wasn't great. Like it's kind of basically what I expected, but I actually maybe expected it to be a little bit
Yeah.
worse. So the remake portion
Mm-hmm.
again wasn't god awful. It wasn't great. And then the beginning part, I completely agree. Like that didn't even need to be in it. That should have just been, that was really far fetched and dumb, and just Rob Zombie again taking the material and just going overboard with it. So I completely agree, and I do feel kind of like meh about it. Like like is it the worst remake of a classic horror movie I've ever seen? No, but is it like a good one like Texas Chainsaw Massacre's remake? Like no, I don't think so at all. I don't think I
No.
would ever say it's
And
good,
is there a point
but
to it? Not really. You
exactly,
know,
exactly.
is there a
But
point to it existing?
yeah, no.
Not
And
really.
I think the only other thing we didn't really talk about that I think is worth mentioning is we didn't really talk about Michael too much, and I think him being a fucking brute in this, like 7 feet tall, and
Right.
like that was kind
Oh
of
yeah. Because
not
I mean, we
necessary
talked
too.
about him as a kid, and that was like my biggest gripe with him. But yeah, he was an
Right.
adult. Him being 7 feet tall, he's not Jason. Jason is 7 feet tall. Michael is not.
Exactly.
But I guess they wanted to go a different way, and this is Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. But for the most part, I didn't have a huge problem. I mean, I have a problem with the height part because
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
Michael, and he's not, you know, all of that. But like when things weren't in perspective or he was like in the background, you could see him for a second. As long as when his size wasn't pointed out so much, I
Right.
was like,
Or
okay, I get
emphasized,
it. I
yeah.
feel the essence of Michael. It's just when they pointed when his strength and his size was pointed out, it was just like,
Yeah, but it's like I
oh
feel
yeah,
like
that's
I
not
hate that
correct.
they sort of use that as a way to like, oh, is this gonna make Michael even scarier? Like Michael doesn't need to be a huge brute to be scary. Like he was just a normal sized guy, and like in all the other ones, and it still worked and it was fine. Like I just feel like if they're using
Hmm.
that as a way to make it scarier, like that doesn't really work. And again, yeah, I guess it's not a huge
Yeah,
deal because it's not super pointed out unless he's like fucking breaking down he breaks down so many fucking doors in this shit. I'm just like, oh my gosh, and like through walls, and I'm like, okay. And then even, oh my god,
yeah.
when he was like next to Danielle Harris, when there was like a scene where she was actually standing in front of him, and like, oh my god, she's also really tiny, so he looked like he had like 3 or 4
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
feet on her. It was ridiculous. So
I know.
yeah.
I mean, good for her. She actually did do all the like fought him. There wasn't like a stunt double, so she actually held her own against him and all that. So good for her.
That's crazy.
She's
I
still
know.
awesome.
I know, right? But I mean, and I think you told me that like some people consider this the like scariest Michael, and I don't know. I hope that's not just because, oh, he's huge.
Uh,
Like that shouldn't define and make him. I still think the
no.
best Michael will always be the first one, the classic. It's the
Hmm.
best one, and yeah.
Yep.